6:04, so I will call the meeting to order. Welcome to the school committee meeting of June 25th, 2026. This meeting will be conducted in a hybrid format. All members are here in person, but some of our guests may be remote. We're going to have a roll call to confirm we have quorum. Colleen?
Proudler here.
Presumer.
Wiseman here.
Hamilton here.
The meeting is open to the public and will be broadcast by ECAT. The school committee has elected to have a public comment period tonight pursuant to our policy to give people the opportunity to share their wishes and ideas. If any members of the public here in person want to make a comment during the public comment period, you will be invited to do so, and we ask you state your name and address for the record. All remarks should be addressed to the full committee through the chair, and each speaker will have 3 minutes to state their comment, and we will allow for a total of 15 minutes for public comment. The public comment period is not a time for debate or for the school committee to respond to those comments. We welcome you to email us any questions or additional comments. So the next item on the agenda are the regular session minutes of May 28th, 2026. Does anyone have any comments, questions, or corrections? Okay, then I will take a motion to approve the regular session minutes of May 28th, 2026.
So moved, Percy.
Second?
Proudler second.
All in favor? Thank you. Next are the regular session minutes of June 16th, 2026. Any questions, comments, or corrections? I will take a motion to approve the regular session minutes of June 16th, 2026.
So moved, Percy.
Do I have a second?
Proudler second.
All in favor? Thank you. And next are the workshop minutes of June 1st, 2026. Any comments, corrections, or questions? I'll take a motion to approve the workshop minutes of June 1st, 2026.
So moved, Percy.
Second?
Proudler second.
All in favor? Thank you. Next item on the agenda is CLA operational review presentation. Dr. Cabral.
Thank you, Chair. So this evening we have an associate of CLA, Eric Mason, this evening to present the findings and answer any questions from the operational review that was done this spring. So if you move, right, if you move to the, you have your reports with you, and there is a slide deck, and I will invite Mr. Mason to begin as soon as he's ready.
Very much. As the superintendent said, my name's Eric Mason. I'm a consulting CFO from Clifton Larson Allen, and we were contracted by the school district to do a review of the budgetary processes for last year and the previous year. Before I begin that, I just want to say a thank you to the community, to the school district, to the school committee for giving us the opportunity to work in this absolutely beautiful community. My best friend lives in Easton, so I'm in Easton a lot, and I do very much appreciate the community. So to come on and help out and work together with the committee and with the administration to analyze the most important thing the school district does besides educating kids, spending tax dollars. And what we did throughout this process is really comes down and can be centralized within the SOW, the statement of work, or the scope of work, sometimes it's called. And I think this is a good way to begin the discussion, is to what was the plan set out to do? What were we entitled, what were we asked and contractually obligated to fulfill? And what it really breaks down to five major points. The first is reconciling the fiscal year 2026 budget and staffing variance, evaluate the current budgeting position control and procedures, validate the current budget process going into FY27. It feels crazy to think that July starts next week. That is a very weird feeling to me. Deliver a consolidated report, which is what the committee has now and what has been given via PDF, and then present to the school committee, which is why I'm here today. Now, while that scope was very precise, which is how SOWs are required to be written, what was given to CLA to analyze independently was a holistic review of all documentation. And when I say all documentation, not just the end of the year budget, we are talking process, procedure, intra-period construction documentation, very, very widespread access of the ERP, the Enterprise Resource Planning, the accounting system of the district. So it's not just that we looked at FY26 and FY27 budget material. We looked broadly across all internal financial material that was given to us, which was it was a lot of material. The district was very forthcoming with all different material and access. Additionally, we also had a review of the budgeting procedures for position control and for the budget building itself. So it's not just that we got the documentation and said, all right, the documentation says X, Y happened, right? We looked at the process that led to the final documentation, and we examined that against best practices. And that's really the gist of how these types of analyses work. It's against best practice. There's no such thing as a perfect budgeting process. There's no such thing as a perfect process in general. What there are best standards that mitigate risk and errors, and that is what we compare these processes to. Additionally, we were able to review with the district and validate the FY27 approach to the point where we actually got to sit in meetings with the school finance director as they built out the budget physically. Not just from hey, this is what the procedure says, but physically watching the adjustments being made to the budget. And in general, we focused on process, controls, and recommendations. And the recommendations are going to make the majority of the report, the majority of the conversation today. But I will say within the 60-plus page report that was provided to the committee and to the district, there is process explanation. There is very detailed explanations on what led to the recommendations and findings. And while these will be discussed more generally, within here, we did our best to do a jargon-free explainer that the community would be a resource to the community. Now, to discuss the review process, now, what actually happened during here? And I think that's what is going to better contextualize the results that we discussed under framing and risk identification. So what we were given access to, because we're only good as the amount of data that we have. So we had ERP access, Enterprise Resource Planning. So we had access to the entire accounting system, all the way to the transactional level. So we reviewed this budget, not just what's in the line versus what was the available budget into the year. We actually see each individual tabulation and actually go and review payroll transactions relative to the performance of the municipality. I would describe the data being given to us as very transparent. We had full access to the system. We had full access to all the documentation around it. And that's what was allowed us to produce our findings in this report. Without this type of data availability, there is no ability to have these findings and recommendations. Now, we reviewed holistically all the FY26 and FY27 documentation related to budget, including the district was very forthcoming with giving us what we call intra-period budgetary documentation. And that's a very unique thing. That is actually showing us the incomplete budget documentations as it becomes the complete budget. So usually as you build a budget, you're building a large tens of millions of dollar budget, usually only you save that last draft of the report. You don't save each iteration of the report, but the district was able to produce to us essentially a document by document representation of how they build out the FY26 budget, which gave us a roadmap for identifying what the challenge that was faced during that process. In addition, we had interviews with the administration, with HR and school HR, and in school finance. They were all, again, very candid discussions that, again, helped us refine our way through this process and identify weaknesses. And then finally, as previously mentioned, the school finance director gave us a live walkthrough of his budgeting process from itemization line all the way up to the budget, which is the best way for us to track validation. That is as clean as you could possibly get for looking at validation. Key conclusions. So this will start off the findings section and start off our discussions on what is in the report, aside from framing the data itself. So we really followed 4 processes: reviewed, identified, analyzed, and confirmed, which is what these types of analyses are designed to do. First, you need to review what documentation, what information you have, so you can, what is going to be the bounds to the conclusion you make, and how confident can you be to that conclusion. So first, we reviewed personal supplement, the FY26 budget document, the ERP data, the FY27 budget process documentation, itemized budget inputs for FY26 and FY27, and several other additional documents going all the way back to FY22. And while we reviewed all those documents, what we were able to do is the findings and conclusions are going to be very centralized to one topic. We did review everything. We did review everything that possibly goes into budget construction as part of this process. Now, what we identified as the driver of the unexpected variance was the FY26 personnel supplement was overstatement. There was an overstatement on it. So I want to pause here for a moment and explain what a personnel supplement is, because it is something that can be esoteric if you're not familiar with public budgeting. So in a school district, 75% to 85% of all money is spent on personnel services, especially when it's one school district within a larger municipality. Now, what that means is your personnel supplement accuracy carries a very heavy weight in terms of what happens over time. Now, what we identified in FY26 was a combination of previous fiscal years, a slow stacking, I would describe, of unacknowledged departures in the personal service lines. And what I mean by that is that you'd have an employee, let's say was retired, was making $100,000 a year. They would be rolled off of the ERP system. They would no longer be in the accounting system. They would be accurately reported as retired. But in a budget, they would not be rolled off the budget itself. And then you would hire, say, an additional employee for $75,000. Well, that means the budget was now stating, without that $100,000 position being rolled off, it's now $175,000 in new spend, when in reality, there was only really $75,000 in needed budget to satisfy those salary requirements. What I want to make clear is that this was not every single person who retired wasn't accounted for. In fact, this is a very small percentage of the people who left the district weren't accounted for, but there's an accumulation effect over time. Missing 1 or 2 or 3 individuals per year, especially considering they were salaries that were much higher. These are, in-step teacher salaries in many cases. Really, what caused it was this stacking slowly over time, over each year not having a perfectly refined personal supplement for the budgeting, and that stacking is what led to the unexpected surplus. Now, the next thing we did is we analyzed inactive or reallocated positions that remained in the budget. And I want to make it clear is that the school finance director, the current one, had accurately identified these positions prior to us coming on board, and we were able to sit down with that gentleman and confirm his calculations. And our calculations, our processes lined up almost perfectly overlaid one another. But then there's one more thing that has to be confirmed, which is, were those individuals that weren't in the budget, was there any payroll coming out of those lines? Well, the simple test is if there wouldn't be a surplus if the payroll was coming out, correct? But we did confirm through HR that those positions were not still being paid, which is directly that led to the dollar surplus relative to this personnel supplement. Now, as part of this, once you identify this as a personnel supplement, we have to sit there and say, all right, if we're going to generate recommendations, we have to understand what are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that exist to the budgetary process. You need to analyze the patient before you can treat them. Now, what we had done, is classic SWOT summary, is from a strength standpoint, we found in the FY27, the approach that exists now, there's very strong cross-school department communication, especially relative to financial documentation, and the financial leadership out of the school finance department is very strong. What that will help ensure that, as we checked for the FY27, the personnel supplement had been updated and removed these empty positions, which does allow for what we have seen with the recommendation from the body for the reduction in the school budget relative to those positions that were unaccounted for previously. Now, in addition to those strengths, what we did is we did identify 2 major weaknesses in this process. that exists outside recommendations. We're talking about this from an organizational standpoint. There's a very centralized knowledge base, which is another way of saying is that there's key person dependency. The budget construction and the ability to analyze the personnel supplement in a way that prevents something like this really revolves around the school finance department. And when you have, just because it's a weakness, that there's critical dependency, that's very common in many school districts. I would say it's actually common across the entire Commonwealth, both in the municipal side and in the school district side. But it is an identified weakness that when you have one individual who's able to address these issues and solve the budget problem, when you only have one person who's able to do that, it can lead to, it's a weakness over time. ERP limitations. The current ERP system is a very reputable ERP system. It is certainly one that has a fair track record, but for the size of this school district and for the modernization this district needs, the ERP, and we have heard that the district did report to us that they are modernizing their ERP going into Munis. We would describe that as a positive progression. So while that weakness is there, given the discussion we've had internal to the district, that weakness is unlikely to persist in the long run because Munis is coming on. Opportunities, because of the Munis addition, we have automation and process standardization. Munis is excellent at creating replicatable results over and over and over again. Makes it easier to train, makes it easier to have people who understand when the system is broken, they can see it, right? If you have an overstatement in the budget line, it's more apparent with Munis, especially when you have a cleaner process over process approach. I would say from a threat standpoint, leadership within the finance and HR department would be, I would very much consider that, we'd very much consider that a threat to the overall ability to maintain the budget in the long run, because the district went through such a radical shift from the FY26 budget process to the FY27 budget process in terms of personnel supplement validation, that naturally in the short run, there is a threat that if the people who fix that suddenly leave, that would weaken the overall process. And we call that regression risk. So we identified 5 findings and we have 5 risks. The difference between a finding and a risk is a finding is a very acute described problem that is designed to be addressed through recommendation and implementation considerations. A risk is a broad thematic macro issue that tends to persist and gets resolved over a longer time period. It usually gets resolved because findings are addressed. So the first finding we have is the personal supplement that was previously discussed. As we described earlier, personal supplement is the best way to think about it. It's a roster of your entire employees, how much they're supposed to make next year, and then marrying that back into the budget, irrespective of line, department, cost center, what have you. It represents 75 to 85% of the budget, and with small variations can come large surpluses. So our finding was positions were not consistently removed from the personnel supplement following vacancies or reallocation, which led to the overstatement in budget projections, which were then the budgets that were adopted. The causes were we had said was an absence of a formal and reoccurring reconciliation process. Personnel supplements, some recommendations say do it monthly. That could be a little laborious. Some say do it quarterly. That would be the recommended is to quarterly open up the Excel file and then validate that every one of those persons has moved, so that by the time you get to the end of the year, you're not trying to unwind hundreds and hundreds of positions. And then the personnel supplement was very heavily reliant on a carry forward rather than a clean sheet approach. The carry forward approach is that you're taking, hey, here was my starting point last year, here's my ending point, let me just build on what I think happened with individuals. That could be, if you have a personnel supplement that's very strong, that is a good methodology. That is not a bad methodology. If you have a good personnel supplement, it saves a lot of time and it can actually give you more time for review as opposed to just construction. Now, a clean sheet approach, which is effectively the new personnel supplement that was built for FY27 that we got to review, fixes that issue. It addresses that issue head on, where it basically says, now I need to justify the salary of every single person that's on this roster before I roll it into the budget. Our recommendation is implement a formal reconciliation process to validate the personnel supplement against current staffing conditions at a defined interval. What we had done here is that we had taken the approach that we're doing this analysis as if it's the beginning of FY26. There have been major changes to operations between the beginning of FY26 and the end of FY26. So many of these findings will actually have a status at the bottom as of this report date that shows they've been addressed. This personal supplement issue has been addressed by the school finance department, has been addressed by the administration, and it has been adopted. It's been verified, it's been reviewed. It's a very strong document. Finding 2, position control. Position control is essentially a software module that exists inside your ERP that keeps track of all your employees. Now, ERPs all have different variations of how they maintain position control. The current ERP does not maintain its position control in the same way that Munis will, the software that was discussed about coming online. Munis has a much more horizontal position control that is much more robust. And what we had found is that the current status of the position control for the district was insufficient, and it led to key stakeholders who were involved in the budgeting process and involved in mid-year financial reviews. They were unable to identify these persistent overages as they were occurring. One of the things to remember is that the school district will spend $50 to $55 million a year. And when we talk about variances in the millions, that may only represent a 3 to 4% change in the budget. So if you're halfway through a year doing a budget and you see that you are supposed to be at 50% through the year, but you're at 47% of the way through the year, that may not cause an alarm. In many cases, you'll be, oh, I'm having some good underperformance. Like, oh, we're doing a little better with the budget. It's going to help. It could be very helpful. But as that persists over time, you can end up with if you're at 3% under budget halfway through the year, that means you're going to finish at 6% under budget for the whole year at that pacing, and suddenly you end up with a few $1 million surplus. If you have strong position control, it's easier to pull that data, even if you're not using ERPs all day long, like we are. You can pull that data. You don't need to have a great technical expertise and say, oh, that's weird, there's a 0% in that line. Why is that person who was budgeted $100,000 getting $0 halfway through the year? A weak position control stops you from that easy multi-eye check. And that's the best thing about ERPs. They remove some of the technical accounting and calculations that naturally exist in budgeting and allow more eyes to be on it. The more eyes that are on a budget and are on accounting, the more likely you are going to catch mistakes. Currently, this is in progress. The district did disclose to us that they are transitioning over to Munis, which is the gold standard throughout Massachusetts for ERPs, and it is widely used by districts of this size. Finding 3, as discussed in the SWOT, key person dependency. Again, KPD is something that happens in all districts throughout the Commonwealth. I would argue it happens throughout every district in the United States, where there are certain individuals that have very good institutional knowledge, very good institutional skills, and building a budget is complex. A $50+ million budget is not something the average person builds in their lifetime. When I was in industry, I used to say to police chiefs, I'd be like, "You're running one of the largest organizations in the entire city." It's no different than the school district. This is the largest portion of the town's budget. It's very likely one of the largest budgets of anything operating inside of Easton. You can't just assume there's going to be an infinite supply of people who can build this. So it's natural key person dependency. That's a natural process. But what we can do is we can focus on upskilling. We can focus on decentralizing that knowledge base among the different stakeholders that work in finance, that work in administration, work in HR, which was, during our interviews, I'll say that was a common theme with the administration and with the finance department, was this idea of cross-training, of distributing out how each individual can know more about that budgeting process. And that's a good counter to key person dependency, but the key person dependency is still very pronounced in this situation, which is natural. After something like this happens, you have there are new finance personnel that come in, especially when they're highly skilled, like in this situation, and they're able to fix the problem. Well, if you're the person who fixed it, you're gonna be the person who knows how it works. I'm the son of a mechanic, all right? There's certain stuff my dad fixed that to this day, he showed me, and I don't know how, I could not fix it, all right? But over time, if the district focuses on upskilling, we will see that disseminate over time. We'll see that become an easier burden, but it is something that requires consistency over time to manage. Finding number 4, which is process documentation. This was very interesting to me. Not just because I'm a nerd and I love Excel, but because the current system for documentation is, the current budget building process, documentation-wise, is very strong from a spreadsheet standpoint. I was very impressed with it. So the way that the current budget build-out works, especially from like a rollover standpoint, a year-over-year comparison point, is the data is pulled raw right out of the ERP, untouched, right into an Excel spreadsheet where the calculations follow through. That is a fantastic way to do it because there's no keystrokes, right? The data is going into a sheet, the calculations are occurring, and then you're knowing where your starting point is. That's a great approach. And so the other thing that makes that very strong is that if you're somebody who's maybe not super technically skilled with ERPs, which there's a lot of people who aren't, that's a normal thing, not to just have somebody walk off the street and be like, I know everything about these systems. They can replicate that because Excel is such a common language now in the finance world that you can have somebody who doesn't necessarily know the ERP, but they know Excel. So all you have to train them to pull out this data to help them start building the budget is teach them how to export. That's a great system. That is a good system. The other side of that is that, and this is where we start getting into what's the best practice versus what's a gold standard. And one of the gold standards to have is what we call is a very detailed formal budget narrative. Now, many people who build budgets, we actually don't build them looking at some sort of document that you flip through like a guide. We build them based on how do the Excels work, how do the budget systems work. Many people who build budgets, and I've built a lot of very large budgets over my career, is it's not about flipping through a document, step 1, step 2, step 3. It's about understanding what systems you have and what data you can put into those systems to get results. And the current budgeting process used by the school finance department is excellent in that regard. It's a very strong process that has been brought in. But there isn't a formal documentation where somebody could flip through and say, this is how I got to this point. And that really becomes a decision from how that should look, becomes a very internal decision. That is not something that we would expect the district to go and spend money on that. That's internally prepared documentation. Everybody's budgeting process is different. I know it sounds very interesting, but town to town, school district, everybody budgets very differently. So it's not something that we'd expect there to be a consultant or another ERP coming in. No, these are internal manuals. And I will say there is a little bit of sometimes, in case anybody looks this up, that you might hear some recommendations. I wouldn't say against doing that, but one of the cautions that occurs is that if somebody needs a manual to build a budget, a $50 million budget, and they need a manual to do that, they may not be in a position where they should be building a budget. So it's about creating documentation that is, unlike this report, which is meant to be jargon-free and meant to be widely readable, budgetary documentation should be precise to avoid errors. And sometimes I can go against that normal narration. But again, that's an internally discussed process, and there's always a happy medium ground when it comes to those. The final finding is one of the things we check when we go into school districts that we like to look at when it comes to budgeting is where the facility assessment sits at. The school district, virtually every municipality across this beautiful country, owns the most buildings, owns the most square footage, has the biggest depreciation risk of any entity. So it's important for school districts to understand what's depreciating. Depreciation is one of the largest expenses any municipality pays, but it's not in their budget. So we want to make sure they're accounting for that through maintenance, through facility planning. And when we began this analysis as of that FY26 start date, the facility assessment, the school district had done many assessments for what they were repairing. That was very good. That was very pronounced. We saw that. That was great. But in terms of, you don't know what you don't know, right? A wall looks great until your house floods on New Year's Day. That's not a fake example. That's something that's happened to me. And so what we saw here with the facility assessment is that the district had already started updating it. It sounds like they have one that will be coming online in the next couple of months. So we brought that up. It has been adopted. So next, we're going to go over the 5 major risk factors that we found. So risks, like I described, are macro. They are things that exist that can be addressed through the recommendations we talked about, but it's important for us to highlight them because we were brought in to say the things that we found. So one of the biggest risks we found going forward would be adherence to FY26 processes. They must remain consistent. The new FY27 processes addressed in large part and near holistically everything that we've talked about in the findings, which is strong, that's important. But if you suddenly don't adhere to them, that's a risk. If you say, hey, we did good here, and we're not going to follow up on them, that may lead to a similar struggle or similar accumulation of these unrecorded positions over time. One of the things we analyzed during this discussion was the history of personnel changes, how those are handled. And what we had was an example from a few fiscal years ago of the superintendent instructing the finance department to make a personnel change that hadn't been done, and it never was done. And so we say, it is a rightful expectation for the superintendent's office to be able to say to the finance department to remove a position, and that position to be removed from the budget process. So personnel changes must be executed and reflected in the budget, and that would be something that the finance department would be responsible for. We currently see that being executed very well in the current finance department, but it is something that was even noted a few years ago. It's important to remember is that the FY27 budget correction is one time. It's not a structural cost reduction. We are in many school districts, and when we do these types of analyses, it's great when you can find money to be saved, but these positions are going to be rolled off the budget through this current personnel supplement. That's not revenue. So removing the budget $1 million next year, that's not $1 million that can be accounted for as a backstop for next year. That personnel supplement has been brought down to its actual, so it's actuals versus actuals now. Whenever we talk about moving budgets down in schools, we need to talk about net school spend. Right now, the town, because net school spend is about the district and a town issue, they're well above net school spend. Net school spend is going to continue to climb. It's climbed forever. It's always the minimum amount that schools have to spend. It is something that we always just highlight as a potential risk in the long run. If to say there was previous point was not followed and they just kept cutting that expense over and over again, you can run into net school issues. The final one is payroll process limits real-time detections of variances. The current payroll process is very accurate, which is why people who were included in the personnel supplement didn't get random checks, and that's why the surplus built up. It is laborious. It is in the report itself. There is, I think, 8 pages devoted to showing exactly what every step of payroll is. It's 2026. An 8-page step-by-step for payroll is a little antiquated. So with going towards Munis will address a lot of that, but it limits real-time processing. It really puts the administration, the school finance department, and HR behind the ball, where they have, it takes 3 extra days to do the payroll. Well, that's 3 extra days you're not seeing what the final result of the payroll is. And would that have prevented this issue? Unlikely. It's a little speculation, but unlikely. But does it give more time for eyes on reporting, on gross reporting? Yes. So the last 2 slides, we'll do a looking forward. The expectations going forward to prevent the issue in FY26 would be maintain adherence to the new review process. It's robust. The school finance department, the administration, HR, that system is strong, what the current system they have now. In particular, there is a personnel supplement, and there's a copy of that inside the report, an example of what that report looks like. And this personnel change form is excellent. It has all the relevant data, and one of the things I liked about it the most, it's frequently updated. I cannot tell you how often you go into a school district and see a report from 1997. And it's like, well, I don't want to change it. I'm like, what has changed in the last 30 years? That feels weird to say. So it's updated frequently. Its data flows beautifully into what position control and payroll looks like. For HR documentation, it's a strong document. And that helps to ensure that personnel updates are fully executed and reflected. That is how you prevent the over budgeting from a pure mechanical standpoint. And then monitoring long-term cost pressures and compliance requirements as staffing gets rolled off, even staffing positions that weren't filled. It's perfectly natural to have some reallocation of where staff has to be for different school buildings. Massachusetts has a laundry list of compliance stuff to have to happen. The school district knows that far more than me. The school committee knows that more than me. But it's just a highlight thing that as we go forward, making sure we're staying in that compliance. In closing, the FY26 process reflects significant improvements in the FY26 process and addresses many of the concerns and the major issues that led to the surplus. We did see strong communication and coordination across departments in the school. I was very impressed with the communication, both from the superintendent's office to finance and HR had a very strong communication channel. That's very, very important. It's something that can lead to many headaches if that doesn't exist. And the focus should be on consistency and sustainability of the current process going forward. The school finance office and the director was able to address the budgetary side of this, so remaining consistent in sustaining those processes over time. That's really where how an FY26 will be prevented in the future. I'm more than happy to take questions on this, but this is the end of the report. And again, thank you very much to the district, to the committee, and to the people of Easton for allowing us to work with you.
Thank you very much. So Kelly and Jim, I know you were involved in this whole process. Is there anything that you want to add?
No questions from me, but just a comment that the example you gave on what happened, because we haven't seen the personnel supplement, or I haven't seen a copy of it, but it was very easy to understand and conceptualize, which I appreciate. It was also really encouraging for me that this is Mr. Spagna's first year working in a Massachusetts school system. So the fact that it instills confidence that fiscal year 27 was prepared correctly is encouraging, and I hope this really starts to build people's trust back in the school's budgeting process. So thank you very much for working with us.
No, absolutely, and I will say that Director Spagna is incredibly gifted. It's just very, I was very impressed working with him. You know, one of the things I love about my job is I'm in different districts and municipalities all across the Commonwealth, and he is as tops as they come, and that's a big reason why these things were addressed very quickly. This is usually not something that gets fixed in one budget cycle, and he got it down. He really did.
That's great. That's great to hear. Thank you. Colleen, did you have anything?
Just thank you for this report. It's very comprehensive. And I am glad to hear that Munis is going to be implemented, because I think that will make a huge difference in the district's ability to keep track of position control and changes within the district. Things happen so quickly.
Yes.
And all best intentions, but like if something has to be entered in through a PA, so Munis needs to be a lot easier to pull a report and double check the notes that people have taken from various departments to make sure that
Absolutely, that's beautifully said. I mean, you know, this is a large operation. It's probably the largest employer in the entire city, right? Like, it is the school district, and bringing in a process like Munis, it's a big modernization. It's a great system. Some people get frustrated at first. It's like, oh, I have to learn a new system. It's like, I still know how to use an iPhone. I've been an Android user. Like, yeah, so doesn't mean iPhone's bad.
Dr. Cabral, Dr. Pruitt, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I just want to add that it was very enlightening to hear some of the recommendations were already things that we had been thinking of. So for example, the process documentation, we have been talking about creating a process memo that will be updated throughout the year regarding, you know, the documentation for actually how the budget is created. So we see step by step exactly how everything is will be memorialized. And also, as far as the personnel supplement, that is something that we will be reviewing regularly until we get the real hang of it. You know, we will be reviewing it more frequently at the start of the year, and next year, then hopefully we'll need to in the future. But that is something that we are committed to doing with our principals, with you know, just to ensure that all the movement is documented and accurate. I also just want to note that that the working with CLA has been wonderful. It's very confirming that we are in a good place right now, moving into the next year. And I really appreciate the work that you all did and how transparent you were with us around your findings and recommendations, because it helps us grow. We can't do better unless we know, and we really appreciate your work.
No, we appreciate you guys. It was, like I said before, I mean, the transparency was, we had access to everything. We had access to the entire database. I think the only thing we didn't have access to was payroll in terms of social security numbers and bank accounts. I mean, we were just, so we were able to look into things to right down to the transaction level. I mean, you can't get any more clear than that. And to jump off your point about the budgeting process, and I know one of the things that the district has prided itself on is not just traditional top-down, bottom-up budgeting, which we discussed in the report, the idea of the administration sets resources and then they listen to the individual programs in schools to build out how those resources, but really a truly decentralized budget process where, you know, it's really a partnership among these different schools and program directors relative to the resources the administration has, and seeing that flow through not just, oh, that's how we do it, but then seeing it in the actual financial documentation and the budgeting and the Excel. I mean, it was, and that is the gold standard. I mean, that decentralized budgeting is the gold standard. And to see that that was something that had been evolved through, for many years, the top-down, bottom-up budgeting, which is the best practice. And then seeing that move through the decentralized over time and being developed, it's a really good momentum builder. Absolutely.
And just lastly, I would just want to remind everyone watching tonight that although we will be adopting Munis, it's still a 2-year implementation process. So it is going to take time, unfortunately, but fortunately that we're getting it. So I know being in the payroll office today, for example, our staff was very excited, but they're still saying, okay, but we have 2 more years of this, then how tedious it is after looking at the 8-page guide of how to do payroll, so.
That was, when we documented that, the gentleman who documented for us, he's excellent guy. He even looked at me, he's like, this seems lengthy. And I was like, yes, I would agree with you.
So I also want to thank you. We were very excited for you to come in and to share information with you. It was very interesting how thorough you were. We were hoping you would have that level of analysis, and you did. And so we're very thankful about that. Thank you for using the word transparency. We try very hard to make sure we're open with everyone about everything. We do have limited tools. We've been trying to get a new software for many, many years. It is helpful for people to hear from someone else just how laborious it is, because that's not standard. And not only is it laborious for the finance department, but we have a lack of staff in the finance department. So it is counterintuitive for many people, I understand, to ask for things like a software program or more staff in an administrative office or a facilities review. It can be counterintuitive when we're saying we don't really have enough money for all of the programs we have or the things that we want to run for children. But those are the things that help us to be as conscientious about funding as possible, to avoid any errors, to avoid getting in a position with facilities, for example, where you're always chasing things and fixing them after the fact retroactively instead of having a really smart, proactive maintenance program. These things cost more money in the end, and so it's just really important for people to keep in mind that what might sound counterintuitive really are sound investments for taxpayer money, and it is going to take a while to get the program in. That's just the nature of how that works. That has nothing to do with staffing, although having more staff obviously would be helpful. But they are things to keep in mind, and I really just want to punctuate, especially as I'm leaving and won't be able to punctuate this regularly going forward, is that this does not mean there's tons of money floating around the school department somewhere. This did not mean that there has been a ton of money in there that hasn't been used. This is an accounting issue that we actively looked for. We're constantly looking to find where there may be errors or where there may be variances or where there may be places where we can be more economical. And so was something found? Yes, but that was due to actively looking. And having a finance director who knows how to do payroll and salaries and a budget for well over 500 people by hand, knowing that we have 21 pay periods, 26 pay periods, we have hourly employees, we have salaried employees, we have 6 collective bargaining agreements, we have 50 plus individual agreements, we have longevity payments, we have stipends, he is currently doing that by hand. That's what a personnel supplement is, for those that aren't aware. Software systems have them. Ours does not. So again, it was said very well, but I just want to punctuate, having very few key people who know how to do this with the inability to take them off task to cross-train is a risk. And I perfectly understand that front-facing people, we hear all the time front-facing people who are working with kids are the most important. Of course, they're extremely important. The backside of things where people may not understand what the breadth and depth of what people do is also very important. It helps the frontline people do the magic that they do every day. And so I just want to make sure we keep those things in mind, even when they sound counterintuitive, even when it sounds like maybe people don't have all the information is out there. It was very validating to hear things. I didn't hear anything that was surprising. It's very encouraging that Munis is coming and that we have a finance director that can do this, but that's a lot of reliance in something that's not here yet and a person. So I just want to make sure that those are points that aren't lost on the school committee as going forward, the administration will make recommendations similar to ones we have made in the past to try to keep us on track. It's very important that they have the support to do that. And so thank you for all of your work. We really found it to be very helpful. And yes, a lot of things were already in place, but there are things that we can do and do better. And even the things that are in place will continue to be reviewed to be better, because that's what we do every year, is constantly look at how we can streamline and be more efficient and be the most responsible we can with every taxpayer dollar that we're fortunate to receive.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Many times when we do these types of analysis, it's not uncommon for people to naturally clam up. We walk in there, we're not auditors, but we're people with pretty extensive public sector experience, and we know the questions to ask and know what to see. That was not the experience here. This was almost felt more like a confessional at some point than it did during the interviews and with how much data access we had. So thank you very much, Superintendent, for setting that tone with your team for us.
Yeah, I really appreciate how comprehensive your report was, so thank you. And your comment about cross-training and documentation is something that I always worry about when you have such a limited staff. So I'm glad you pointed that out as well. So thank you again for all the time and effort that you put into this. We appreciate all the information, and it's been a really great experience, so thank you.
Thank you, and thank you to the district, to the committee, to the town for allowing us to come aboard and see if we can help out going forward. We will also be furnishing you guys with the PDFs of these to share as you so see fit. But thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda, a vote to approve donation, All Town Fresh. Dr. Cabral, do you want to say anything, or do you want me to, or?
No, Mr. Cedarbaum is
Oh,
here
right, okay,
to
great.
present that to you this evening. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Cedarbaum.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm here again thanks to our wonderful partnership with All Town Fresh. We once again held our annual car wash fundraiser the last weekend of April, first weekend of May. It used to be a biannual event. We used to do one in the fall and one in the spring. They've condensed that into one big event a year now, so we do it for 4 days instead of 2 all at once. And I'm happy to report that this year our fundraiser garnered us $1,100. So looking for your acceptance for that, and we will be using that on playground equipment, assemblies, and things like that at Blanche James.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Questions or comments? Okay, so I will take a motion to approve with gratitude the donation of $1,100 from All Town Fresh.
So moved for sale.
Second,
Prather, second.
all in favor?
Thank you all.
so much.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, vote to approve contract cafeteria tables and chairs, EMS. Dr. Cabral?
Okay, so Mr. Kopaz was unable to be here this evening, so he will not be able to answer questions about it. If you do have any, we can postpone to another meeting if you'd like. If you feel comfortable with the information you've been given and you can vote on it, that would also be fine.
Okay, so do committee members have questions or concerns that we'd like to hold the contract for Director Kopaz? No? Okay, so I will take a motion to approve the contract with Verco Inc. for the purchase of cafeteria table and chairs for EMS.
So moved, Percio.
Second?
Prather second.
All in favor? Great, thank you. Vote to approve contract Mac mini computers for Oliver Ames High School. Same comment?
Yes, those are specifically for the art department,
Okay.
for their graphics arts classes, excuse me. The Macs just have a better capacity for visuals and
Okay. Does anyone
Their
want to
work.
hold this agenda item for Director Kopaz? Okay. So I will take a motion to approve the contract with Apple Education for the purchase of Mac mini computers for Oliver Ames High School.
So moved, Percio.
Second?
Prather second.
All in favor? Thank you. Next item, discussion and vote on the school committee meeting schedule for 2026-2027. Okay, so you have this in your packet. The reason we were waiting till really the end of the month was we wanted to make sure that we weren't conflicting with back-to-school nights. So as you can see, we've gone through, we have the two July and August meetings will be virtual, the rest are here. We have the October 15th is at 6:30. I'm assuming that's for the,
October 15th?
yeah,
That would be the
professional status. Okay,
I
that's what I
see.
figured,
Okay.
yep. And then we have a March 1 that's on Wednesday, and I think that was because of, was it because of the conferences? And
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So does anyone have any concerns about any of these times or dates? And obviously, as we go along, if something needs to be changed, we can change. But Kelly, did you have something?
Yeah, I just had a question on the move because of the parent-teacher conferences, because I thought this year we had it on the same night.
We do.
Like, I just remember this year going to parent-teacher conference and then coming to school committee meetings, so we had done both on the same night. Was there a conflict that introduced?
I think there was, didn't we have to move one meeting?
We did on the one that was the high school. This is the parent-teacher conferences for the pre-K to the March one, the pre-K
Oh, the
to
March
fifth.
one, okay.
So they're not in the building. It doesn't significantly matter to me. I just know it's the build of the rhythm to have it on Thursdays. But the we had to move the one that was in the high school because there was too much activity in the building that night. But the March ones we held
Okay.
on the Thursday just because.
I think
There
we were
wasn't
just
a
trying to avoid any. I think we were just trying to avoid any conflicts that any school committee members may have due to parent-teacher conferences as well.
I appreciate you, but we don't have to move it for me. I am successfully able to slot it in before I come over.
Yeah.
So
Well, we
I'm
can keep
comfortable
it.
either way.
I mean, if you're not comfortable keeping it on Wednesday, we can look at moving it, or we can keep it on Wednesday just for that.
I'm fine either way. I just knew
Okay.
Wednesday was other committee nights. Which
I'm
is
just going to need a reminder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Other than that, it's fine.
No, I'm not worried about
Okay.
March 10th
Okay.
next year.
Not until March 9th next year.
No,
Yes, yes.
that'll work. That's fine.
Sorry, one other quick question.
Sure.
I know we've tried to work through timing of budget, town elections, all those things. Nothing that we had to move around there. Just because sometimes we have to have a couple of meetings in March to work through budget prep, and then there's
Yeah, so
the election.
I think I looked up because the election this year is
In May now.
May now.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I think I'm just going to
I think
double
we're
check.
okay,
I
right?
think it's scheduled so that we have, let's see, so May 13th. I think I'm pretty sure the election's on May 11th,
Okay.
and so we have a meeting.
So we just
That
need someone
same
to
week.
be sworn in right away. Yep.
Right. So
Yep, that makes sense.
which we usually want the meeting right after the
To be close
election so
together.
that there can be a reorganization of the committee.
Yep. Makes sense. And then we don't know when town meeting is yet, right?
Town meeting
I'm
is
just looking.
Is it the 17th?
17th.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so no other questions or comments. I will take a motion to approve the school committee meeting schedule for 2026-2027.
So move, Percio.
Crowther, second.
Great, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, discussion of fee and possible vote. So, fee was a subcommittee of the school committee until 2017 when it filed as a charitable organization under the laws of the state. Its purpose is to raise money to purchase technology and fund innovative teacher grants. Since 1989, it raised over $1.2 million, and the all-volunteer board is comprised of parents and school representatives. The last fundraiser was in 2019. So the current board was phenomenal. They did a great deal of work to raise money for us over the years. They do not wish to continue going forward, but they are willing to train new board members. So we're hoping to get this going again. I'm thinking that we could, talk about it at back to school nights. We can put it in the town crier. Maybe the principals can send it in their newsletter. So the goal would be to start advertising for this in the fall and get it going again. Because the current board members are not really active, I thought I would use my school committee email as the initial point of contact until we get some people who are willing to serve, and then I could turn it over to them. So what I need from you guys tonight is an approval of me using my school committee email to be the point person. So is there any questions or comments or feelings about this?
No, I think this is great. We've had such great volunteerism and turnout when we've been looking for people to participate in selection committees and interviewing committees, and I think this is a great time to seek engagement and support, and obviously financially helpful to the district.
Okay, great. So I will take a motion to authorize Jackie Wiseman to be the contact person for anyone interested in becoming active in the Foundation for Excellence in Education in Easton.
So move, Percio.
Do I have a second?
Crowther, second.
All in favor? Okay, great. Looking forward to getting that going again, Nancy.
That'll be great.
Next item on the agenda are the policies. So the first one is policy DBJ, Budget Transfer Authority. So we had kind of a lengthy discussion about this at one of our previous meetings, and I think we came away from this as we're just going to leave as is for now.
Mm-hmm.
Was there any other feelings about that?
That was my notes in that collection.
Okay. So if we're doing that, we don't need to vote on anything
Great.
with that. So the next one is the fundraising policy, which is JJE. So we talked about this quite a while ago, last fall. We initially, so we took a break on it. We looked into it. Policy subcommittee got sample policies from numerous districts. We talked to the presidents of the Blanche Ames and the RO PACs to get their input. And I think we incorporated the concerns of committee members as well in the revisions. So I wanted to go through those. We have our policy member Nancy DeLuca here and Dr. Pruitt here, so we can answer any questions going forward with this. So as you can see, so again, this is me copying and pasting, so the formatting is all messed up. Don't worry about that. So as you can see under the numbered paragraphs, the second one, we made some revisions, again, to have the principals more involved in this. Mm-hmm. And then we got rid of, what, this is not supposed to be crossed out, is it, the underline? There's red, if the no competitive prizes.
That one I was confused by as well.
The red should just be underlined, not crossed out, right? Yeah, all right. So that no competitive prizes, we know that there was a concern about that. But the big fundraisers that especially done at RO, as you know, is Boosterthon, and they do have the competitive prizes. So we were trying to balance committee members' concerns with the success of that fundraiser. So if you look at the red part of it that's crossed out, that shouldn't be crossed out, it says, if competitive prizes are awarded, all students should be recognized regardless of level of fundraising.
So we're not expecting that they all receive the same prize, but we do want all students who participate to receive some sort of prize.
Yes.
Okay.
Does that, yeah. And then I think there's there's a couple others. We just added in about the state law on raffles, because there's some very specific language around that. And then towards the end, again, it's really the building principal and the superintendent that should be overseeing these, not school committee so much. So does anyone have any questions or comments about these changes?
No, I'm just glad that the raffle piece is added in there because it's so murky and nobody knows that it's against the rules, and it's just, if it's out there, the more we tell people,
Yeah.
the more it becomes commonplace because people really get upset because they think that
Because
it's always been done in one variety or, one variation or
Yeah.
for years and years and years, and it's
and it always depends on who's actually running the raffle. And it
Exactly.
just, that little
yes.
difference is not very well known, so yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so do you want to have a third read, or are we good with this?
I'm
Okay.
good with it.
So I'm going to make a motion to approve policy JJE fundraising.
So move, Percy.
Do I have a second?
Rather second.
All in favor? Okay, next policy, IJNDD, electronic communication and social media policy. I think this is maybe the 50th read of this, I'm not sure. So Colleen, I know you had some concerns about the revised language. It's a little difficult to see. We did use a different color to make the changes, red and pink. So it's on the screen, it's really hard to see.
We can see the pink.
You
It's
can
okay.
see?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you go down to establishing appropriate boundaries, we took out social media and added all electronic communication enable teachers. And then we added a paragraph towards the end.
Before that, we
Oh.
left Twitter and put X.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I missed that one. And then we added a paragraph that I think addresses your concerns, if you want to look at that and let me know.
That's excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, good, okay. Yeah,
I think it's a typo.
yeah,
The second sentence, whenever practical.
yep.
As opposed to practicable.
I don't know what practicable is, but I know what practical is.
Whenever practical.
Nancy, how did you let this happen?
Oh, look at that change in real time.
I just changed it on here.
Okay.
We're watching you do it. Yeah. Corrected and approved.
Okay. Are there any other, everything else okay?
Yeah.
Everything
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Technically a word,
It is?
so it would have worked.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
It actually was correct.
practicable is
Wha-
correct?
Okay. You can, yeah. I don't know what that is, but
Means
sure.
capable of being done, accomplished, or put into practice
Okay.
successfully.
All right.
There you
That's why
go.
it wasn't highlighted.
Learn something new at every school committee meeting.
Never mind, Nancy. I apologize.
Yeah.
I was.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so I will take a motion to approve policy IJNDD, electronic communication and social media policy.
So moved. Person.
Second,
Rather second.
all in favor? Great. Okay, so here are some new ones. Policies, ACAB, harassment and bullying prohibited. So this policy, the way it was in our policy manual, it was just a restatement of our bullying policy, and it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be a sexual harassment policy. So legal counsel came up with the revised policy. Again, this is just a first read. So does anyone have any questions or comments about this?
I noticed a typo.
Okay.
So in the first sentence, it says Easton Public Schools and its school committee. I believe that would be capitalized.
Want me to change it here?
Sure.
Love the real-time edits. And then if you go further down while you're in there editing, I'll wait for you to finish that one. If you scroll downwards to the bullet number 1, there's some funky something going on under individuals.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's weird. Does that show up on the actual document?
It shows up here too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's again 2 lines down.
It's like instead of the apostrophe.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is weird.
It's probably like a conversion of Word to Google or something like that.
Yeah.
And I just assumed, so for, like, as I went through it, it has a definition here, like generally sexual harassment includes, and then listed a few things. I assume that was legal's recommendation on the language to use there.
As the Title IX coordinator, I will tell you that those are the exact definitions of sexual
okay.
harassment.
That's what I
Yes.
wanted to make sure. The verbal or physical conduct, I was confused, the verbal piece threw me off a little bit. So. But again, not my area of expertise, so.
And then we're going to add in the contact information for Title IX coordinator.
That was my other question.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll make all of those revisions and bring it back for a second read.
They appear to be made.
Okay, well, we'll bring it back for a second read anyway. Okay, so policy ECAB, access to buildings and grounds. So this actually is a new policy. It was suggested by MASC and it was reviewed by Director Kopaz. Dr. Pruitt, do you want to talk about why we feel the need to add this policy?
Sure. So what was important about this is that there's consistency with the actual access to our buildings and grounds. And this was not in a previous policy. When I presented this to Director Kopaz, he was very excited about the fact that this would actually take place. It talks about things that occur during school hours and outside of school hours. It just creates policy rather than regulations.
Questions or comments about this?
Makes sense. It feels like we assumed this was always the case, but it's good to actually have it written down. Yep.
Okay, so again, first read, we'll bring it back to you for second read.
The only suggestion that I had on this
Yeah.
is that if this is a policy that we wanted to have, to assume that the public would be aware of it, we might just want to reference that the non-school hours and days is identified on the school website or using the school calendar or something that directs people to the appropriate source to understand whether or not. I know some communities have been having difficulty this past week as different schools get out on different days.
Oh, yeah, right.
There's been a lot of kiddos like in and out of, I don't know if you all have, but it's like, we've had a lot of like, school still in session, please stop coming to our playground.
Yeah.
That I've seen through other communities. So
Okay.
just something maybe worth referencing.
Okay, so
That'd be my
yeah, we
only
can
comment.
definitely add something in. Thank you for that. That's a good suggestion. And then the other one is GCG, Substitute Professional Staff Employment. So Director DiNapoli reviewed this, and she just made the one change that you can see on the policy. Does anyone have any questions or comments about that?
I support the change.
Okay. And then we have JFBB School Choice. So MASC alerted us to this, that Mass General Law, Chapter 76, Section 12BJ includes a sibling priority. It was not in our policy. It wasn't in the MASC sample policy or the model policy. So we revised this to include that language. And again, at the end of the policy where it says reviewed by school committee, we'll obviously change that as well until whenever we vote on this. Okay. Any questions or comments about the change?
Nope.
Okay. Again, that'll come back for a second read. Okay, Dr. Cabral's retirement. So I'm just going to say a little blurb, and then anyone wants to say anything they can. So tonight is Dr. Cabral's last school committee meeting. She is retiring as of June 30th. She has dedicated the past 13 years to the Easton Public Schools, serving first as assistant superintendent and later as superintendent. Through her tenure, she played a major role in the planning and design of Blanche James Elementary School, helping to create welcoming learning spaces where children can grow academically, socially, and emotionally for years to come. She also helped bring understanding by design to the district, strengthening curriculum development and instructional practices across all grade levels, always with the belief that strong teaching and purposeful learning go hand in hand. Dr. Cabral further championed opportunities for students at every level, launching STEAM Night for our littlest learners and expanding high school opportunities through early college and career programs. Through these initiatives, she worked to ensure all students at every level are prepared to succeed beyond graduation, guided by the confidence that comes from being supported and challenged. In every role she held, her leadership was defined by her integrity, her commitment to equity, and her unwavering focus on helping students succeed. Dr. Cabral's legacy in Easton shows just how deeply she cares about our students, how she works tirelessly to help them learn and grow. Under her leadership, the Easton Public Schools community is truly better for her dedication and unwavering commitment to education. And for me, her legacy is someone who's been supportive and always has time to listen. I've learned so much from you, not just about the district, about education, but how to be a leader, how to be a kind and good leader. And you've been incredibly kind and thoughtful. I'll miss you. So if anyone else wants to say anything, they're welcome to chime in.
Someone came prepared. I do have something to say. I'm trying to gather my words. I thought a lot about what I wanted to say tonight, and I don't know if I will put the right words to it. But for some of the community, a superintendent is defined by the decisions you make on whether or not we have a snow day or a delayed start or what time you make the decision. And what I have learned through the whole process of school committee, which to your point, I've learned a lot, is the complexity of every decision and the amount of time that you spend thinking about every person impacted by those decisions, from the DPW to our police and fire, to our EMTs, to our custodial staff, to the students who, when we think about a snow day, they might go without breakfast or lunch that day. And the amount of conversation that we have, whether it be on the side or at a school committee meeting or even an executive session, about the people, every single person in the district, whether it be the staff, whether it be a student, whether it be a parent, and the amount of focus you put on integrity and equity and privacy and respect. There are so many times where you cannot say something because you care about the people impacted, because you're trying to protect them, because you value them, because there are students and families and staff members who deserve that privacy, that respect, that protection, and that equity. For every single one of them, I appreciate you. There are a lot of people that do not understand that when you look at the whole of the district, the amount of people that need to be protected and respected, and it is the deepest lesson that I learned through this process, is the amount of time that gets spent on that, and I appreciate it, and the complexity that goes with it. Thank you. I thought I could do it, and I couldn't. That's why I'm not looking at you, it's easier. So, I've been in the district a long time. I've seen a number of different superintendents. I've seen the impact that that has on kids. I've seen the impact that that's had on my kids. I am so grateful that you spent so much time with us. I don't think people appreciate or understand the complexity of those things. I don't think even the families that are protected or the team members or staff that are protected always understand what you do for them, but it's not unnoticed by those of us who are close to it. So thank you.
All right, so I can't follow any of that. But I agree with everything that they said, 1,000%. Dr. Cabral, you have so much integrity. You're so intelligent. You're so compassionate and caring, and everything that Kelly said about the number of people that you protect and you always put people first has always been evident. I'm so grateful that my kids went to Easton Public Schools under your leadership. And I can think back to a time when I didn't know you very well, a long time ago, something happened in the world, I forget what, it was some sort of a tragedy, and Easton Public Schools very quickly got a letter out to all families in the community. And so I got that as a mom, and I remember I emailed you and asked, could I take this letter and tailor it for my own school community? And in the midst of everything else that was going on, you got back to me in probably 30 minutes and said, of course, here, take the letter, do whatever you want with it. And that always stuck with me, that just as one random parent asking for a favor in the middle of a world crisis, you immediately stepped in, responded, and helped me out in a completely different capacity. So that always just kind of stuck with me, that you're just very committed to people and committed to the kids and the families and the community of Easton. And I have worked with a number of school leaders in my career, and you are by far one of the best people I've ever met. So thank you very much for everything.
Dr. Cabral, it's been very nice getting to know you all the way back in PACE, and then throughout the last year on the school committee. I appreciate your leadership as I've come to learn this position and your position and how difficult it can be. So thank you very much.
Do you want to pass on Brendan's?
Brendan, Mr. Dolan gave his condolences that he could not be here tonight. So.
I know you've said a lot already, so I don't.
I have, and I don't want to take this moment away from the school committee. Leisha's like the big sister I never had. She's been preparing me for this for 9 years, and I cannot thank her enough for her mentorship, her leadership. I've learned so much in the past 9 years about how to be a good leader, and if I am able to do half of what she's been able to do, I will consider myself successful, and I will miss her terribly. And I am forever grateful for everything that you've ever done for me. Thank you.
Sorry. I have to say, you're going to get a lot of hours back, and I feel a deep compulsion to offer a former school committee member an opportunity to say something that they say at every retirement.
Well, it's actually, she's not retiring. She is. She's going to do something else.
But all those hours.
We
Take
could
it.
only hope.
Yes, please.
Well, I don't know if that's true, but you know that she will be off and running to something else after she takes a little vacation with no interruptions, I hope, because every vacation she gets interrupted. But definitely well-respected, and, any position, whether you're the superintendent, assistant superintendent, a principal, a teacher, custodian, whatever, somebody's going to be like, man, did you see what she did? Like, you just got to let it go. That's what my husband always says, let it go, Nancy, let it go. And it's just important to know that what you've brought here and tried to do and have succeeded to getting kids what they need in the town. Do we need more teachers? Yes, that'll be on my gravestone. Get more teachers, because the class sizes need to be smaller, but that's just me. But you have done a tremendous job. I know your family's going to be happy to have you back and not have to make the decision about a snow day or anything else. So thank you very, very much.
Wait, you have to say?
Oh, well, but that's what I mean. You're
say
going to
anyway.
love retirement.
There we go. There we go.
Kelly, you're going to be the next Caroline.
I don't know if my family will survive that. We'll see.
Do you want to say something now? You want to wait till your notes? What would you like to do?
I'll say it now instead of notes and spare you all notes. So I want to express my gratitude, truly. This has been a humbling experience. It's been a growing experience, and it's been really the pleasure of my professional career. This is a remarkable district. I feel very proud about where it is, where it's going, and I want to specifically thank the past and current school committee members who really make all of this work possible for your extraordinary salary that you don't get. When you talk about what goes on behind the scenes and people really don't understand, it's just a tremendous amount of work out of your personal life for not a lot of recognition at all and zero compensation. So thank you for your dedication, as well as all of the prior school committee members I've had. I've been extremely fortunate for who I've been able to work with. Pushed me, challenged me, supported me, and it meant everything. I want to thank my administrative team. Again, I picture the duck with the feet going crazy under the water. Everybody sees the duck coasting along and does not see everything else. And I commend you on the work that you've done, and I appreciate your camaraderie. I appreciate you helping me poke holes in everything and constantly keeping me on my toes. That's very important, that you don't just have people who say, yes, great idea, let's keep going, but really help work it from every angle. And we have such a tremendous team. The staff, including all of support staff, everyone who's just an amazing champion of children and young adults. That's why we do the work every day. And so I'm just going to remind everybody, remember your why. It can get tough when we get mired in the work, or when people have their non-professional opinions about everything that you're doing. You are supported. You have been and you will be by your leadership team going forward. So thank you so much for all you do. Please enjoy your summer. You deserve it. To the amazing students, past and present, I was blessed to have a retirement celebration with former students attending, one of whom is a superintendent herself, principals, teachers, people that I somehow didn't scare away from education when they were kids, so that's great. They're carrying on many life lessons to many more students, and it's just wonderful to see their successes and to be able to keep in touch with so many of them who are now, in their 50s, literally. The parents and citizens of Easton who are very committed to their children and the district, for supporting the initiatives, for supporting the crazy ideas that people said could never happen, for supporting the facilities upgrades and the security and the new elementary school that is just going to, for decades, provide a much better opportunity for our tremendous educators to do what they do best without having to have the lights continuously going out, or the boiler breaking and being held literally by duct tape, or having outlets in their rooms so they can plug in electronics. And it sounds so silly, but we've unleashed them and allowed them to be able to do what they do. And so I'm so grateful for your support of that and everything else. Our local government, our state government, I don't know if Easton realizes, not just the school committee members, but the people that dedicate their time to be on all of the boards and the committees, the time that goes into that, the talent. I'm constantly stunned because, I've lived in many cities and towns and worked in them, and, you get a potpourri of people who just come from many different reasons to do this important work. And I am stunned by the quality that consistently shows up in Easton, and the time and effort that they put into it, the intelligence and the thoughtful application of everything that they learn. Truly, you are a town that is blessed. It's easy to sort of disagree with people when kind of we don't like the way things go, but I can assure you everything that they bring forward has been very thoughtfully considered and is done so with a pure intention to make things better for everyone in this town. And to the state delegation, again, past and present, that got to the point where they would kind of run when they saw me coming. Thank you for slowing down enough for me to catch up and for always listening and being humble in knowing that you had things to learn about public schools and allowing us to share with you everything that we were able to so that you could speak for the people of Easton and really advocate for them the way that you have. My town department chair colleagues who, again, second to none that I've ever worked with. We always hear about the infighting in other districts. People will say, how did you get that? Or how did you work on this? Or how did you have such a wonderful procedure on X, Y, and Z? And I said, well, we got together with police and fire and DPW and the health, and they said, you're joking. Like you work well with those people, and they didn't push back. And I am just so grateful to have had the support of all of the experts that were able to share, do care very much about the school department and how we work together to make sure that everyone is safe and comfortable and healthy and have mental health supports. And it's just, there are true, when people say wraparound services, the town of Easton truly has wraparound services. Our community partners, again, I've worked in big cities that have lots of resources that just don't have the dedication of the community partners like we do in Easton. I don't want to start naming, but there are some that just deserve to be named, like the YMCA and NRT, and even Langwater Farm. And see, I didn't want to start naming because I'm going to forget places, but to have partners that are truly partners in every sense of the word, that don't give up when things get tough and help us figure things out. And I can come with a crazy idea and they say, well, let's try to figure out how we can make it work, and actually being able to make it work. Dedicating their resources to augmenting what we have or don't have. Again, school on wheels. I don't even want to start naming. I don't want to leave anybody out, but I think everybody's aware of the tremendous, tremendous resources that we have in town for our kids and our families. And it is just with absolute pride and deep gratitude that I am going to retire, do something different. My husband says, you can get a 40-hour job and it's going to feel like you're on vacation constantly. So that means there's a lot of opportunities for me to try something else and do something else. So I look forward to discovering what that's going to be after the summer and adjust. There's going to be adjustment period. Something that is bittersweet that I was able to talk about at my celebration, but the sweet was always better. And I leave with very sweet memories and very sweet relationships that I appreciate. My former partner, Lynn Souza, and my new partner, Vanessa Dorian, who keep me on the straight and narrow. Thank you for all that you have done. And Chrissy and Ann, to have a succession plan with such a stacked bench of extraordinary knowledge, compassion, dedication, soul. I just feel so good about where the district is headed under your leadership. Thank you for all of your cooperation over the years, and you have 150% of my support. And if you ever need to have one of those, you're not going to believe this conversations, my number is going to be the same, and I totally will get it. And I'll say, yeah, I do believe it, actually. And we'll be there for you. So thank you, everyone. I really appreciate all of you very much.
Thank you. Okay, next item, schedule of payments. School committee signed warrants 106S. Public comment. So, if any members of the public here in person wish to make a comment, please raise your hand and you will be invited to do so. Please state your name and address for the record. All remarks should be addressed to the full committee through the chair. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to state their comment and will allow for a total of 15 minutes. Public comment period is not a time for debate or for the school committee to respond to those comments, but we welcome you to email us any questions or additional comments. No? Okay. Nope. Go ahead.
So I just wanted to say thank you.
Excuse me, ma'am, what's your name?
Hold rules. Nancy Luca, 25 Simmons Street. Do I need that? really?
Yes. What part of the rules do you
It's
not
for ECAT. It's for ECAT.
I know. 25 Simmons Street. I just want to thank the school committee. This policy thing is 10 years in the making. 10 years. 10 years. And thank you very much because you've read all the policies and seen all the changes, and it's a lot, but you're helping us get to the end of this so I can go back to my life, sort of. But thank you, and thank you all. And I know Chrissy and Ann and Sam's here, all will do a great job as we go forward. Easton's always prided itself on having a great education place, so I hope it keeps continuing as we go along. And I appreciate you guys.
Thank you. Anyone else? Nope. Okay. Assistant Superintendent notes. Dr. Pruitt, your last set of Assistant Superintendent notes.
You know I have something to say. No, I'm kidding. I just wanted to wish everyone a happy last day of school. It was a wonderful day, being able to walk around and say goodbye and see everyone. Didn't get to see everyone, but a lot of people. And just the joy. You know, this place, the last day of school and classes are still full of kids. That doesn't happen everywhere. And it's because of the dedication of our amazing educators in this district. And I just am really excited about this next chapter. Dr. Cabral, I'm excited for your next chapter. And I promise I won't call you too much. But thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful summer and rest up. We got a lot of work to do in September.
Thank you. Do you want to, anything else you want to say?
No,
Okay.
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. School committee notes. Colleen?
Well, happy summer to everybody. I'm very excited for you. My public service announcement to all of the kids out there, no matter how old you are, is do not swim without a buddy. Nobody should be in a body of water alone. And if you're out on a bike or a scooter or anything of that nature, wear a helmet. Right? We want to keep you all safe. We want you guys back safe and sound in the fall. So have an amazing time. But just do those 2 things for me.
Thank you. Kelly?
Happy last day of school. My kiddo went to leave this morning and he said, I'm kind of really sad it's over. I'm also really excited about something. I was like, well, that's the perfect way to end the school year. You know his personality, Sam can attest to this. It is the perfect way, though, to end the year. To have that bittersweet moment is awesome. So happy and safe summers to everyone. And don't forget those of you who actually have summer work to do to please do it.
Jim?
Yeah, I don't have too much. I was traveling abroad for a good part of June. When I was on my phone, what was exciting to see was people coming to the U.S. for the World Cup, falling in love with America.
Amazing.
So what I would encourage you all to do is root for the U.S. team. They're playing tonight at 10 o'clock. And spend some time this summer falling back in love with America if you can, for whatever reason. So have a good summer.
Thank you. Have a good summer. I am so looking forward to summer. Hope everyone has a nice, relaxing, peaceful, sunshine summer.
No rain on weekends, please.
Please.
Putting that out in the universe.
Okay. So I will make a motion to enter into executive session and we'll return to open session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the Easton Educators Association, the EEA, Units A and C, And in my opinion, having this discussion in public would be detrimental to the bargaining position of the school committee. And pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 21A7, to comply with open meeting law and review executive session minutes May 28th, 2026 and June 1st, 2026. Do I have a second?
Percio, second.
Roll call vote.
Prather, yes.
Percio, yes?
Wiseman, yes.
Hamilton, yes.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you. Okay, welcome back to the school committee meeting of June 25th, 2026. Next item on the agenda is the possible vote to ratify the collective bargaining agreements with the Easton Educators Association, EEA, Units A and C. Dr. Pruitt, is there anything you want to say before I make a motion? Okay, so I will make a motion to ratify the collective bargaining agreement with the Easton Educators Association, Unit A. Do I have a second?
Percio, second.
All in favor? Thank you. I will make a motion to ratify the collective bargaining agreement with the Easton Educators Association, Unit C. Do I have a second?
Percio, second.
All in favor? Thank you. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Percio.
Second?
Prather, second.
All in favor? Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.